Hello everyone. So today is the third part of the chapter functions in Python, and as I mentioned in my earlier videos, I just told you all that I will be concentrating on programs as well as output questions related to Python. So let's get started. Okay, so let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so this is the first question we plan to attempt today. Okay, and this was a question of March 2015. Okay, so let's read the question. The question says, write a method in Python. Okay, so method means I start with the keyword def. Okay, so write a method in Python to display the elements of the list thrice if it is a number, and display the elements terminated with a hash if it is not a number. Okay, now if you look at this question, they have not specified the name of the method. So since they have not specified the name of the method, I'm going to be using any name. So I call the function display. Now what am I planning to do? I have a list of elements, and if the list of elements contains numbers, strings but consisting of numbers, then I'm going to replicate it and display it 3 times. And if it doesn't contain numbers, then I'm just going to attach or concatenate a hash sign next to the string. Is that clear? So obviously I will require the list, and that's my parameter in the function. Okay, now if I have to check whether the string is a pure string or contains digits, I will have to traverse through the string. And how do I traverse through the string? By using the for loop. So I write for x in L. Now, for those of you who need to understand what does for x in L mean, let me just explain to you. Suppose this is the list of elements, okay? In a list, the first element is stored at index location 0, the second element at index location 1, the third element at index location 2, and so on. So the first element in the given list is 41. So 41 is going to be stored at index location 0, derond at index location 1, and so on. Now what does for x in L mean? When you write a loop like this with the list, what exactly happens is the variable x assigns or takes one value of the list at a time, starting from the first element. So when you write for x in L, the first value that is stored in x is 41. When it comes back to the loop, the next value that gets stored in x is derond. The next value would be Giriraj, and so on. So when I write for x in L, I'm basically traversing through all the elements of the list. Okay, fine. So now x contains the first element of the list, and in this scenario the first element is 41, but remember all these elements are a part of a string. Now what do I have to check? Is it a number? We have learned a function named as isDigit in the str class, so I'm going to make use of that. So I write if x dot isDigit, okay, which means if x, which is a string, contains only digits. In that scenario, what is the question expecting me to do? To replicate it 3 times. The replication operator that we have learned in the string chapter is the asterisk sign. So I'm going to make use of the asterisk sign, and I write x, the asterisk sign, by 3. Now what does this mean? Whatever is in x is going to be repeated or replicated 3 times. And currently, for the first time in the loop, what is there in x? 41. So 41 gets replicated. Remember, 41 is not multiplied by 3 because 41 is a string. So with strings, you can't do addition and multiplication. With strings, when you use asterisk sign, it means replication. Okay. And it says, if it's not a digit, if it's not a digit means what? Just the else part. If it's not a digit, you're supposed to be displaying the string, but to it, you should attach the hash symbol. So what do? I write print x, and along with it, I attach the hash symbol. Now remember, Two operators that you see here are the string operators. One is the asterisk sign, which is a repetition or a replication operator, and one is the plus sign, which is the concatenation operator. Okay, so with this we are done with the function. Okay, but we have learned when we started with functions that the function is not going to be executed unless and until you call the function. So actually, from exam point of view, they had only asked you to write the method or define the function. So the definition of the function is already there. But I would be also writing statements to call the functions. Only then we can see the execution of our program. Okay, so how do I call a function? Firstly, I have a list named as list, okay, let's say, and the list of elements are as given in the question. Now, what do I need to do is make a call to a function. How do we call? Now, if you look at the function does not return an answer. So how do you call a function that does not return an answer? You write the name of the function and you send the parameter to that function. So what am I sending to that function? A parameter, or the actual parameter named as list. Now the actual parameter list and the formal parameter L mean the same thing. They're talking about the same list of elements. And finally, the function traverses through each and every element of the list and displays it 3 times if it's a number. Otherwise, just concatenates a hash sign next to the string. Is that clear? So let's execute this program and see whether we are getting the desired result. Yes, this is exactly what the question expected us to do. This is what they are expecting us to show in the output, and that's exactly what we are getting here. I hope this answer is clear. Okay, so let's look at the second question. It says, write definition of a method msearch in bracket states. What does that mean? The name of the method is msearch and the parameter passed to it, or the formal parameter, is states. To display all the state names from a list of states which are starting with alphabet M. So what is it trying to tell you? That you're given a list of elements that is containing state names, and when this function is executed, you are supposed to be displaying the names of all the states that begin with letter M. So let's start writing the method. We start our function, we write def, the name of the function. The name of the function is given to me in the question, so I stick to it. It's also given me the name of the formal parameter, so I stick to that as well. Okay, now what do I have to do? I have to look through each and every element of the list, which means I have to traverse through each and every element of the list. How do I do it? I write for XII. And what's the name of my list? States. Okay, so this is exactly like what we did before. That when I had to traverse in the previous question itself, I wrote for XIN and the name of the list. So here also for XIN states. Now just to repeat it one more time, what exactly happens in this loop? States is containing a list of strings, and each of these strings is a state name. So when you say for X in states, what happens is every time you loop, X gets one string. So initially it takes the first string, which in this sample is MP. The second time it comes back to the loop, it takes the second string, which is UP, and so on. So currently, what is the data type of X? X is a string. Okay. Now, what do you want to check in this question is, does the string begin with alphabet M? Like list has an index number associated with it, strings also have index numbers associated with it. And the first element of the string is found at index number 0. So what exactly am I going to check here? I'm going to check if the first element, that means the element at index number 0, is it equal to M? So how do I do that? I write for X square bracket 0. That means the element at index location 0. Is it equals, and because they're speaking about capital M, I'm only talking about capital M here. But suppose you wanted to check for capital as well as small m, then you could have written it in two ways. If X of 0 equals M, capital M, or x of 0 equals small letter m. Or another alternative would have been, you could have written if x of 0 in, and write the capital M as well as small m in quotes. We're using the membership operator there. Okay, either of them. But in this question, because they've specified capital M, I stick to that. Okay, and if it is beginning with M, what do I want to do? I want to print that state. So when I want to print that state, where is the state currently stored? In the string variable named as x, so I say print x. But if I leave the print command like this, what will happen? Every state name will come on a different line. If I look at their output, they want the state names just coming one after the other, which means I need to manipulate the end parameter of the print function, because by default end is /n. That is the reason it keeps going to the next line after it prints everything. But because I don't want to go to the next line, I am going to be manipulating or updating the end parameter, and I just make it as an empty string. What does that mean? After printing, end doesn't say go to the next line, it's just leaving an empty string after x. And if you note, I have left an empty string without a gap in it, so that all the state names are all joined together. Okay, so this is what the function is expecting you to do, and that's it. That's what my function does. But like I told you, I will be writing it as a complete program so I can show you the execution. So let me create a variable or a list variable. S is equal to, so S has this entire list of state names, and if I call the function, again this function does not return an answer. So when it does not return an answer, I call it as the name of the function is msearch, and I pass the list. Where is the list stored? In the main part of the program, variable S. Now, for all of you who need to know how does program execution work with functions, even if you define a function before, it does not mean that function will get executed. Okay, function is only executed when you call it. So actually program execution starts from line 14 as shown in this program. It will initialize a list with all these state names. Then it goes to line 15. What is line 15 doing? Line 15 is a call to a function named as msearch. So it calls the function named as msearch, passes S to states. Now, whatever happens in that function is with respect to states. But remember, states and S is talking about the same list of elements. Let's run this program and check whether we are getting the desired output. Okay, so let me run the program. Yes, if you see here, this is exactly what the question expects us to do. Okay, I hope it's clear. Let's go to the third program. This program or this function was, this question was asked in March 2018. Now let's read the question. It says, write a definition of a method, count now, in bracket places. So count now is the name of the function. Places is the name of the formal parameter. To find and display those place names in which there are more than 5 characters. Okay, and if you look at the example, places is again a list of elements which stores some place names. Okay, so let's start writing the function. How do I write the function? I write def, and the name of the function given to me was count now, so I stick to it, and the parameter given to me was places, so I stick to it once again. Again here, I need to be traversing through each and every element of the list named as places. So traversing by now, I'm sure you are clear with it. So for X in and the name of the list, here the name of the list is places. Okay. So X is going to be picking up each and every element one at a time as it loops. Okay. Then how do I check if the number of characters in that place name is more than 5? There is a function in 11th we have learned named len. So I write if len. Now where is this place stored in the loop? What is the role of X? It picks up one place at a time. So where are these places stored? In the variable named as X. I have to check if the len function is it going to return anything greater than 5? So len function basically tells me what? The number of characters present in x. And x here is your string. So if len of x is 5, what is the question expecting you to do is display that place. So where is that place stored in my program? In a variable called x, okay? And that's it with the function definition. Now let's talk about calling. Only then we can see what we're talking about. Is it correct? Okay, so let me take this given question itself and let me call it as P is equal to. So I have created a list named as P. Program execution will start at line number 13. So I've created a list named as P, and P has a list of place names. Okay, now I'm supposed to be calling that function. What was the name of the function? Count now. In bracket, I have to pass these places list, and wherever I stored the places list in variable P. I would want to tell you another important thing here, whether I called it P here in the main part of the program or whether I called places, it would still be fine, because I told you that you can have two functions or two areas in your program using the same variable name, but it still means something different. Okay, so I have count now of P. Okay, so I'm calling the function count now and I'm sending P. Let's execute this program and see what exactly are we getting, what they are expecting. If you look at the expected result says it should show London and then it should show New York, because only these two places have number of characters more than 5. So let's just execute our program. Yes, but only difference is I got London and New York on separate lines. And so what did we learn? We have to manipulate the end parameter of the print function. So I write end is equal to empty quotes. Now let's run the program once again, and we exactly got the answer as it was expected. Okay, so is this March 2018 paper clear? Okay. Okay, now let's go to another question again, which appeared in March 2018. Okay, it says, write the definition of a method, zero ending. Zero ending is the name of your method. Parameter given is score. To add all those values in the list of scores, so score is again a list, which are ending with 0. So you have to add up all the elements which end with 0, and you are going to be displaying the sum. Okay, so let's start writing the function. The name of the function, you start writing a function by writing def. The name of the function given to you was zero ending, and it took a parameter. What was the name of the parameter? It was given as scores. Okay, so I stick to the same thing. Again, like I said in the other examples, I need to traverse through each and every element in the list. So how do I do it? I write for x in and the name of the list. What is the name of the list here? Scores. Okay, so now x represents each and every element in the list according to the list given to us. Now these are not strings, a list consisting of strings. It's a list consisting of integers. Okay, so the first element is 200. Now, how do I check in my program whether the number ends with 0? Okay, for that, I would want to just tell you something that probably you have learned in your class 11. Suppose you have a number, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if I take this number and if I modulus it with 10, what does it do? It gives me the answer as 4. I repeat, if I take any number and if I say modulus of 10, it gives me the last digit. Now some may want to know how this is happening. How do I get the last digit? So to show you that, let's assume the same number. Let me take the same number. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I had to divide it by 10, okay? Now, when I divide it by 10, what is it going to be? 10 multiplied by 123 is going to give me 1, 2, 3, and a 0. And when I do the subtraction, what am I going to be getting the answer? 4. And please note, 4 is nothing but the last digit of the number 1, 2, 3, 4. Which means you need to learn this, that any number modulus of 10 will always tell you what the last digit is. Is that clear? So if this is understood, we're going to be making use of this logic here. So I want to check if x is ending with 0. So what do I do? If x modulus of 10, does it give me 0? Because x modulus of 10 will give you the last digit. Is the last digit 0? If it is the last digit, what is the question expecting you to do? To sum up all these numbers. So I write sum is equal to sum plus, and where is the number stored in the loop? In the variable called x. Only thing is, whenever we have written sum is equal to sum plus line, we have initialized sum to a value called 0. So I do that. After that, the program is also expecting me to display. Read the question once again. Add all those values in the list of scores which are ending with 0 and display the sum. So the function is responsible for displaying the sum. So I write sum is equal to just a message, and where is the answer stored? In a variable named as sum. So I write sum. Now this is just the function part of it. Let's call this function. So let me just take the same list given to you as a sample here, okay, and let's say I store it in a variable named as s. So I have a list of values, and these are the list of values there. I need to be calling the function, concerned function. The name of the function was given to me as 0 ending. And what did the function require? The list of elements. In the main part of the program, where is the list of elements stored? In a variable named as s. So I pass the value of s. Let's just run the program and see what we are going to get. Okay. Can you see sum is equal to 600? And that is exactly what the question expected. Why? Among the list of values given here to you, what are the numbers ending with 0? You have 200, you have 300, and you have 100. And when you add up 200 with 300 and 100, you are going to get the answer as 600. Okay, mind you, the list here I've taken is exactly the list that the question says, okay? But we have learned S need not be this. You could have asked the user to enter the list of elements. So, and how do you ask the user to enter the list of elements? You could say S is equal to eval, okay? I want to show you even that, okay? So in case you ever want to do a question like that, S is equal to eval in bracket input, and I'm asking the user to enter the list of elements. Now in this scenario, the list is not 200, 456, 300, 100, 234 or 678. It is whatever is going to be entered by the user. So let's just check on that as well. So when I run the program, it's asking me a message, enter list of elements. So I'm entering what I want, okay? But remember, when you're entering the list of elements, you are expected to enter them in square brackets separated by a comma. So I enter 100, then I enter a 234, then I enter a 300, then I enter a 400, then I enter a 123. Okay, so I have some numbers ending with 0 and some don't end with 0. Let's just calculate and keep what should be my answer. I have 100 plus a 300, which is 400, plus a 400, which is 800. So when I run this program, I should get the answer as 800. Let me just check. Yes, we see here that we have got the answer as 800. Is this clear? So in this example, remember I showed you how to work on the list given to you, or how do you take list from the user and work on it. Concept-wise, it's going to be, the function did not change. Concept-wise, it is the same. The function remained the same. Only thing is, instead of having a constant list, I'm asking the list of elements from the user. I hope it's clear to you. So now let's go to the next program. Now this program was not given in any board examination paper, but I purposely put this question is because if you saw all the previous questions that we saw had to deal with lists. I wanted to show you that what if it was not a list and it was just a number? Then in that scenario, what do you do? And not only that, this question is returning the answer true or false. So how do we return true or false from the user? I even wanted to show you that. Okay, so let's read the question before we start attempting it. It says, write the definition of a method check underscore perfect. So the name of the method is check underscore perfect. And it takes a parameter named as n. Okay, that returns the value true if n is a perfect number, otherwise returns false. Now, before we start attempting this question, I need to tell you, what do you mean by a perfect number? Okay, you may have heard about this term in your class 11, but I would just want to tell you, what do you mean by a number which is called perfect? Let's assume the number is 8. Okay, and if I ask you, what are the factors of 8? So what are the factors of 8? 1, 2, 4, then 8. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 4, and 8. And if I actually add up all these factors, if I add up the factors of 8, what will I get? 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. And what is 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8? 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. So the factors of 8, when you add them up together, you get the answer as 15. Okay. Let's talk about a number which is, let's say, 6. Okay, what are the factors of 6? 1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay, let's add up the factors of 6. So when I add up the factors of 6, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 6 is equal to nothing but 12. Now, when you're adding up the factors, you must not consider the number itself. Add up all the other factors of the number other than the number itself. Okay, so from this 8, I'm planning to remove 8. So I'm supposed to be adding only 1 plus 2 plus 4. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So here, the factors of 8, not including 8, add up to number 7. Okay. Similarly here, I'm not talking about the number itself, all other factors except that number. So when I don't add up 6 here, I get 1 plus 2 plus 3, and 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. So if you see, the sum of all the factors as well as the number happen to be the same. So 6 is called a perfect number. So what is a perfect number? When you add up all the factors of a number, not including that number, okay? If you add up all the factors of that number, not including that number, and if that sum is equal to the number itself, then such a number is called a perfect number. Is that clear? Okay, there is another example of a perfect number. Let's say number 28. Okay, what are the factors of 28? 1, 2, 3. Do we have 3? No. 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and 28. Okay, but we said we will not consider that number. So it is 1, 2, 4, 7, and 14. Okay, when I add up all this, okay, I'm going to get 1 plus 2, which is 3, 3 plus 4, which is 7, 7 plus 7, which is 14, 14 plus 14, which is nothing but 28. What does that mean? That when I added the factors of 28, I got the number 28 itself, which means 28 is also a perfect number. Another important thing I would want to tell you here, when you're searching for the factors of a number, we always start the loop at 1. But where should we end the loop? If we were considering the number, that means if 28 was the number whose factors I was checking, and if I want 28 to be taken as a factor, then obviously I will take the loop up to 28. But if I'm not considering that number, then all the factors of the number will be always less than or equal to half the number. Shall I explain this here? Okay, let's talk about the number. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about perfect number. Let's talk about the number 16. Okay, what are the factors of 16? You have 1, you have 2, you have 4, you have 8, you have 16. Okay, if I don't look at 16, what is the second last factor of 16? 8. 8 is nothing but half of 16. So which means if you're not considering the number, then all the other factors are going to be less than or equal to. It's not necessarily equal to, less than or equal to. For example, if I'm looking at factors of 15, okay, factors of 15. What are the factors of 15? 1, 3, 5, and 15. If I'm not looking at 15, just look at the other factors that we have got. Isn't it less than half of 15? Yes, not necessarily equal to, but less than half of 15. Okay, so this is the logic that we're going to be using in our program. Okay, so let's start writing the program. It's said to write function. So I write def. It gave me the name of the function. So I write check underscore perfect, and the parameter passed to it is n. So I have to check in my program whether n is a perfect number. Okay, now we just learned that we were going to sum up all the factors. So I need a variable called sum, which I'm going to be initially writing it as 0. Okay, then I need to start a loop, and let's say for x in, okay, range. Now why do I write a range? I told you the first factor of the number is number 1. And the last factor of the number is the number itself. But if I'm not considering that number, then all the other numbers are less than half the number. Okay, so how do I get half the number? So you have n integer division 2 plus 1. Now why am I writing plus 1? You must know that when I write the range function 1, 6, it doesn't go up till 6, it only goes up till 5. So if I want it to go up till 6, then I will have to write 6 plus 1. That's exactly what I'm doing here. Half the number, that's called floor division, so that I don't get decimal places. So half the number, but if I say half the number, it will not come up to half the number, it will go 1 before it. I want it to reach half the number, so I write plus 1. Okay, and what do I want to check? If it's a factor of the number. How do you check if x is a factor of the number? If n modulus of x equals 0. So that means what? If I take n and if I divide it by x, will I get the remainder 0? If I get the remainder 0, what does it mean? X is a factor of n. And what did I have to do with all the factors in this program? Sum them up. So sum is equal to sum plus x. Okay, so I'm done with adding up all the factors. Now what do I need to do? I need to check now. I've got this things correct. I need to check whether sum and the number, are they going to match? Are they equal? So I write if sum equals n. That means when you added up the factors and the original number, is it matching? If it's matching, what does it mean? That it is a perfect number. And if it is a perfect number, what does the question tell you to return? Return true. So I write return TRUE. Mind you, T is in capital letters. Otherwise, if they don't match, what am I returning? Return false. False, remember, F is in capital. That's how we write Boolean data type in Python. So this function is basically not returning a number or a numeric value, but it's returning something of type Boolean, which is either true or false. Okay, now this is only, this is only the function part of it. Suppose, now how do I call this function? So, but before that, let me read the number from the user. So I write n is equal to input, and I'm asking the user to enter the enter a number, okay, not value of, enter a number. So the user is going to be entering a number, and where is it going to be stored? It is going to be stored in a variable named as n. Okay, now I'm going to be calling the function check underscore perfect, but this function is actually giving me the value true or false. Okay, so because it's returning an answer, I'm going to be storing the answer in some variable. Let's say a is equal to, so a is where the answer will come. Answer in this scenario is either true or false, and I'm calling the function called check underscore perfect, and I'm passing the number to it. Okay, so check underscore perfect will be called, the number will be passed to the function, the function will check whether it's a perfect number or no, and it will return the answer back to the variable a. So a is going to receive only either of the values. Either it will receive the word true or it will receive false. And if a equals true, that means if it receives the value true, then what message do I want to give the user? That it is a perfect number. So I just give a print command here saying print it is perfect. Okay, and if it is not returning true, which means it's going to return false, in that scenario, what message do I want to give the user? I want to say print it is not perfect. Okay, so now where does program execution start? Program execution is going to start at line number 15. What will line number 15 do? Read a number from the user. And where will it be stored? In the variable called n. What is line number 16 doing? Calling the function named as check underscore perfect. And whatever number was entered by the user is passed on to this function here. Now what is, so that means after 16, remember I didn't go to 17. From 16, I jump to line number 5, get into the function. The function starts executing and it returns the value true or false. That value is going to be stored in variable a. And then what am I checking on line number 17? Did a get the value true? If it got the value true, it means the number that you passed to the function was a perfect number, otherwise not a perfect number. Is that clear? But from this question point of view, remember the main part, that is all this was not required. I am showing it to you, only then we can check whether what we are writing is valid or correct or no. Okay, so let me just run the program. It's asking me to enter a number. I just told you 28 is a perfect number. Let's see what the program displays. Yes, it says it is perfect. Okay, let's run the program once again. And let's say I enter the number as 15. It should say not a perfect number. Yes, it says not a perfect number. Is that clear? So this is how you call a function that returns a value. Now, because this function is returning a value, there was another way of doing it. Instead of taking it into a variable, I could have even written this. If check underscore perfect in bracket n, and no need to have the variable, I say print it is perfect, else it is not perfect. Now, how does this work? Normally, how does a if work? You have a condition. If the condition evaluates to a true, it does the line after it. If the condition evaluates to a false, it does the line in the else part. Same case here. It's not a condition. It's called to a function. But that function is returning either true or false. So if it returns true, it will give a message it is perfect. If it returns false, it will give a message it is not perfect. Okay, so let's just run this program and check whether it still works the same way. It should. Okay, so I enter the number 28 and it says it is perfect, so it's perfect. And next I enter 15 and it says it's not perfect. So is this program clear? The program is perfect. I hope you have understood the logic behind the program. Clear? Okay, now coming to the last program that I plan to do. And in this program, I'm not dealing with a list, I'm directly dealing with a string. So we saw how to handle list, though a couple of times in your board examination, the questions are based on list, but we saw how to deal with a list. We saw how to deal just with a number. So in that number question, you could have asked perfect, prime, reverse, Armstrong, palindrome, all those questions that you learned in class 11. And now I'm going to do a question which deals with strings and functions. Okay, so it says write the definition of a function count underscore string Okay, and what is it supposed to be doing? It's supposed to count the number of alphabets and digits present in the string. Okay, so it's asking me to write a function named as count underscore string. So I keep to that. I write count underscore string, and s is passed as a parameter. So s is my formal parameter, which will actually have the string. Okay, now I am supposed to be traversing through each and every element of the string. So traversing is the same loop for x in s. Okay, so in this scenario, remember, x doesn't get the end. Suppose the string is hello. X doesn't get hello. X gets each character of the string. That means x will be h first, then in the second time of the loop e, then L, and then O. Okay. Now what do I have to check? Whether that character is an alphabet or a digit. We have learned two functions in the string class. Is alpha to check for alphabet, and is digit to check whether it's a digit. So if x dot is alpha, okay, if it's an alphabet, I want to count it, right? So I'm just using another variable, a is equal to a plus 1. Okay. Else if, okay, or elif in Python, elif x dot is digit. If it's a digit, I'm using another variable called d. D is equal to d plus 1. But both these variables a and d need to be initialized to value 0. So I write a is equal to d is equal to 0. So what does that mean? Both the variables a and d are assigned the value 0. Okay, and this part of the program is done, which says, you check how many alphabets and digits are there. But the question is asking you to print the answers as well. So I write print number of alphabets. Okay, and where is the number of alphabets stored? In a variable named as a. I need to also print the number of digits. So I write print number of digits. And where is the number of digits stored? In D. And that's it with my, function. Now let's call to check if this program works fine. Okay. So now instead of taking a string from the user and all, I'm just sending one standard string. So I say, I'm calling the function count underscore string. We just need to check whether it works, right? And I write HE 1, 2, 3, some characters, and let's say LLO. Okay. So now if you see, this is a string which has mixed characters in it. It has alphabets, it has digits, it has special characters. The program is only supposed to be calculating alphabets and digits. So I could have taken the string from the user into, let's say, a variable called s, and I could write count underscore string s. Okay, we've done that a couple of times. I'm just directly sending a string to the function. So let's see how it works. Okay, it says, can you see, it says number of alphabets is 5. Yes, we have H and E, and then we have LLO, so making it 5. Number of digits is 3, so 1, 2, 3. Then what happened to the ampersand sign, the cap sign, and the percentage sign? They were not considered because the question told you only to count alphabets and digits. Is that clear? So I hope with these 5-6 programs, sample programs that we have done, you're confident to write a function. Even for your board examination, you will face it with confidence. You know how to write a function. See what we do in the function, guys, just remember, it's nothing new. It's everything that we learned in our class 11. So within the function, what we write is not new. It's everything that we learned with a list or a string or a tuple or just numbers. The only difference here is we are writing it in a function and we need to know how to invoke the function. I hope all these programs are clear with you and you have understood it. Is that clear? Okay.